What is your favorite anime?
Mine's Skrillex.
Skrillex.
I'm so distanced from human sensibilities and stuff.
Was getting caught part of your plan?
もちろんだ。
It's time to put your tray tables up and your seat in the full upright position, because this is the Flight Plan, the official podcast of Big Guy For You, Scanlations, Japan's #1 bane posting manga scanlation podcast. Join the flight crew, Tom and Aidan, as we bantz about all the anime, the manga, the scanlation content. What are we talking about today, Tom?
We're talking about cleaning and how to keep your pages sanitized and cleaned. How to
Excellent.
wash them, scrub them up.
I am a germaphobe, so that's very important.
But I think this might become a trend. There is some top of the show note business stuff to attend to.
I'm getting kind of excited. I'm on the edge of my seat right here.
Oh yeah, you should be. The first thing though is I like that new intro part with the tray table stuff.
It's
Sounds
excellent.
it evokes plain imagery, which is what we're all about.
Which doesn't make any sense because it has nothing to do with anime or anything like that. It's just esoteric bane posting where we're trying to invoke meme magic through all the things we do.
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole Big Guy For You Scanlations isn't about manga or anime. It's about bane posting at its core. So really, we're sticking to our roots, I would say.
Excellent.
But,
So you're saying we have news?
Oh, yeah. This is the rest of the top of the show business stuff. Oh, shoot, there's two extra, actually. The first,
boy,
I
this
want
is a double feature.
I want to issue a warning to anyone who has taken our advice from episode 1. So attentive listeners will remember that the advice we gave was to go through that manga updates. I almost got the name wrong. That manga updates site, right?
Updates.
And yeah. I still don't know which one is the proper name.
I don't
but who
understand.
cares?
And there's also one I can't pronounce. It's like Bakasuki or something, which is I think for visual novels.
Oh, so I don't know about that weeb trash. But anyway, the advice was to go through, filter out your filters, and then click on every single manga and like look at the pictures, right? And to figure out which one you wanted to scan late.
Right, to judge a book by its cover.
That's a dangerous piece of advice because twice now I've been IP banned from their website by doing that. I think they thought I was DDoSing them because I was doing like thousands of hits or whatever, page hits in like an hour or two.
How is that even? I mean, that seems like way more. Like when I'm looking for a manga, like I don't understand how you can even look at 1,000 in an hour.
You click on every page, or on every page when you're filtering has I think 50 or 100. I want to say 100.
So
and you just click on every link.
Let me see if I can fix this. Now, is there a way to, instead of clicking on the link to see what the manga is about, can you like do thumbnail view?
I don't think so.
Can you find a better site that does thumbnail view? Like
that's what I had to do. Yeah.
Yeah, like because there's no way you can do that. Like I mean I've been through that before.
Yeah, I think it was called. I'm gonna get it wrong. I think it was Anidex, Anidex.
Oh, I've heard of that.
I don't know. It's like German, but there's an English.
Well, it's like I do the same thing similar when I'm picking out like what rom-com to read, and I normally go to Kiss Manga, and they don't have thumbnail searching. So like if you hit tag, all you'll see is like the names of 50 pages of rom-com of Japanese names, and it's like I'm not gonna read that. I'm not gonna hover over those with my mouse and click them all. So I go to Mangaka a lot if I'm looking for new manga. So yeah, you have to go by thumbnails. There's no way to do it by names. It's just ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and it started to cramp up my hands too. It was a bad strategy, but it was the best I knew at the time. Now I'm amending it.
Well, now we're learning. See, this is even though we are the Japan's #1 Scanlation team, we are learning new things because this is we're basically pioneers in this field. It's very early.
Not
in
many
history.
people scan late. Yeah. It's like they used to do it on like VHSs and stuff with like anime subbing. It's like
they used to hard code into VHSs, which is just crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know how you do that. That's beyond me.
I was saying it as a joke that they haven't been doing it that long, but really, if you think about it, this has been like manga scanlation in itself is, I don't know what,
it's old.
20 years. No, it's not. It's like 20
It's
years
gotta
old.
be 20 years.
Not translation, scanlation. Fan scanlation. Like fans doing it. I don't know, because how would you? It's never been like it was until the internet, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I first came aware of it when I kind of started watching anime, like subbed, and that was what 10 plus years ago. But I'm sure that they were doing manga beforehand, because I know that like VHS fan subbing is pretty old.
I think that's where it comes back in,
80s.
where you would get your newest releases on IRC direct from the translator.
Probably, yeah.
That's like back before there were sites that's back when like you had to do peer-to-peer because no hosting site could afford to host thousands of pictures, let alone what we're doing now. I think that's probably what it was, because IRC is kind of like a peer-to-peer type deal.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that makes
That's
sense.
interesting. Yeah, that's you can write that on your test. That'll be the answer.
It's part of the essay portion.
Mm-hmm. Free response.
But I mean, not only is it easier now to like upload and read, but to segue into our topic of cleaning.
Oh boy.
Like cleaning itself is now so much easier. I'm kind of talking out the side of my neck here with making these assumptions.
When they used to use whiteout and then scan the pages again at the library.
Probably not far from the truth.
I don't think they ever did that.
Digital whiteout, of course.
With MS Paint.
Yeah, this was before
10,000 hours.
Photoshop per page.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you used to have to do that when this is before like ebooks and such, which was pretty recent actually. Like even if you like, I've seen some like early aughts manga that doesn't have like an ebook form, like officially. So you would still have to buy that, I guess, chop out like the spine of the book and then scan the pages individually. I don't even know how that works.
Yeah, I've seen that, and in fact, people were always, it feels like such a long time ago, like a decade ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was still common practice where people would like they'd buy the tanks from online, like, and back then Amazon JP was not a thing. You'd be making a Japanese credit card. You'd be doing all types of stuff just to get your dojins, and you'd sit there and you like, you can tell because there's a lot of scanlated chapters for older mangas where you can tell it was scanned on a digital scanner. You can see the colors, you can see everything.
Yeah, and that's, I think, when cleaning used to actually take a full, like it was a complete role where like one guy had to spend all that time doing cleaning just to make it look presentable. Like you had to do like lighting, color, balance, contrast, whatever. I don't know the terms, but it's something like that.
And you'd have to have a man on the inside. You'd have to have your very own Jap to like feed you the manga and send it to you.
Well, that's Raw providing, which is an unusual. I think it's kind of a rare credit line, but I have seen it before.
Well, it's super important, at least in the olden days. And I know a lot of the rare stuff nowadays is still very. I mean, people don't have all the raws. It's less so now because, like we were talking about, they're all digital now. So if you want to, you can get them. But it's still.
But not the older stuff. The older stuff is still hard copy only.
Wow, what a world! Like,
I mean, there's so much manga people don't even know about here in the West. Just because, I mean, there's so much manga, period. But I mean, all that old stuff, I can imagine most of it has never really seen the light of day over here.
It's like in Japan, they know they know our anime SpongeBob, but do they know all the other stuff like what's
Ed,
Ladder with Crowder or Chowder? What's that cartoon?
My favorite anime.
Yeah.
Chowder was an anime.
You've got all the LA Cal Arts style.
Yeah. Well, they probably know those because it's in the digital age.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
They don't know. Do they know Flintstones? Well, probably that was a big one.
Dexter's Lab. That's like the equivalent of like Dragon Ball Z in a sense.
I bet they don't even know Samurai Pizza Cats.
Ah, man. What would you do about that?
They're missing out. Or Crayon Shin-chan.
Isn't that actually Japanese?
Well, yeah, so is Samurai Pizza Cats.
Oh, okay. I'm slow.
You think
it's
SWAT Cats?
Yeah, that's honestly what I had in my mind when I'm thinking like 90s cartoons. I think we talked about this in another episode. Talked about Samurai Pizza Cats, and
this was
in my
an
mind,
unreleased episode.
Yeah, on the paywall episodes for the bonus content. But in my mind, I was thinking SWAT cats.
Yeah.
I saw them in their F-16s like flying through.
With their like jumpsuits or whatever.
F-14s, my bad. The F-16s.
F-35s.
Yeah, something like that.
That's that like $1 trillion plane, I think, F-35.
Mm-hmm. Now, I vaguely remember that you had one more piece of news before we go full on into cleaning.
Oh yeah, I forgot because we had segued so properly into cleaning that I forgot about this news item.
And I'm gonna mic cuck you real quick and say I have one piece of news too, and it's slightly related to where you're going next. So I'll just segue this into right there. It's I was going through my YouTube feed and I'm like, look at this. Oh, Digibro uploaded something, and it's like, oh. Look who's that. I recognize that cute little girl on the cover. and it's our very own Antarctic Girls. And he's reviewing them, but he's hating on them. He's saying he's like, this writing's boring, and I was like, "Oh, how could you?" It's like I've never actually read the manga we scanlate
or watched the anime. Which is actually my recommendation, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's Digibro apparently was hating on our Antarctic thoughts, so can't have that.
Hey, they're not thoughts, they're pure maidens. All right, I don't scanlate properties with thoughts.
Well, if she breeds.
Oh shoot, you're right.
Wait, but anime doesn't breed. That's true. That's the only way to achieve purity.
Look at that.
Yes. Truly, anime, the master race.
So I think we're now officially issuing a fatwa against Digibro. Death to those who insult Antarctica girls.
I don't know. I mean, if you're following the Big Guy YouTube channel, we use clips from one of his videos.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, I've got no problem with him. I
like him.
Know him. I've seen a few of his videos.
I like him, and he brought up good points. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Like, that's not a hill I'm willing to die on. Like, I like the show a lot, but there's legitimate criticism. So.
And I don't really watch anime, so whatever.
Oh yeah. But you do read manga, and our next piece of news, wouldn't you know, on a manga podcast, the next piece of news is related to manga.
Oh man, did you feel that epic segue? How'd you say it? Segue?
Segue, or you could say, I was about to say segue, but that's the actual way.
Man,
but in my head I said it UE, like segue.
We're the number one, we're the number one segue podcast at this point.
Well, we've ruined the segue, but the next piece of news was I'm delaying my secret project that I haven't announced yet. This is the beauty. This is why I don't announce things, because I change my mind. I'm a very fickle man.
Because you'd never be held responsible to something you don't commit to.
That's exactly it. And I don't want to get people's hopes up, our 3 listeners. I don't want them to be like, yeah, I really am excited for insert manga name here.
You'd think the number one, Japan's number one podcast would have more than 3 listeners. The YouTube numbers don't do it justice because we're actually beamed through FM radio and shortwave throughout Japan.
Well, that's our problem. We're an English podcast, but we're Japan's number one, so we have a little bit of mismatch there with our target audience.
Yeah, but for our demographic that hits, boom, it really hits. We go on right after Review Bro.
Review Bra, dude.
Review Bra. And,
you're gonna disrespect them like that.
After his short-wave broadcast, you're listening to the Report of the Week.
The voice of the Report of the Week.
Mm-hmm.
It's even a bigger mouthful.
God bless our autists.
But speaking of autism, I found a different manga that I want to prioritize for the next Big Guy project. The secret project that I've been talking about, it's like 9 volumes. And it's ongoing. We're talking like 50 to 60 chapters, and they're long chapters. They're like 30 to 50 pages.
That's why
that's a huge commitment. I know, and it's pretty good too.
It could be the next. It could be the next one of the big 3, and then we could get all the shekels from that.
None of that is true. I think what I'll do is, since I'm already doing one ongoing series, Antarctica Girls, I'll probably wait until that finishes, which I assume will be November or December. Just based on the anime pacing and the pacing of the manga. And then maybe I'll pick up that long one. But nice. For now, I have like a 1-volume, 11-chapter one. I read through it. It's really nice. I actually had to shell out I think 5 shekels, like 4.97 for the scans, the Kindle copy.
I think that puts this podcast into debt now.
It's true. Well, that's okay. I mean, I don't have any hobbies, so I can afford $5 here and there. It's for the fans. And I had to read it to make sure I liked it.
That's true. It's very good. So that one does have an ending? Like it does definitively end there?
Yeah, it's a self-contained 1-volume story. It's pretty good. You guys will like it. I think it'll start. Chapter 1 might be the same day that I finish up my current project, which will be, I think.
You're still not going to tell us a name because you're probably going to find something else to do next week.
Correct. No. I've done half of the first chapter already, and I like it. It's easy. It's short. I'm like 99% sure I'm going to do this one. I don't have any reservations like I did with that long mystery project. So.
Well, I'm excited. I did see one panel from it, and I was like, "Oh, that looks interesting." So
it's a neat premise, definitely. So nobody. I'm also not going to say the name because I know our competition listens fervently to this podcast, and I don't want them to cuck me on it.
Yeah, I was going to say snipe it, but yeah,
I was too. But then I said cuck. I thought it was more modern.
It's more trendy, and I feel like it fits the mimetic profile of BG4U Scanlations.
I agree. You have to keep up on the hot memes, the hottest memes of the day, the dankest, if you will.
We're sitting out here T-posing in our airplane, so
we're channeling the spirits of our ancestors T-posing.
the Volk Reach. But no, actually, if you think about it, T-posing is what? You're just being an airplane. You know,
that's right.
Plan, you get it. There you go. Look, we're pulling this full circle.
And I used to only pose like legs kind of slightly apart, hands on my belt. You know, that pose.
Right.
That used to be my go-to. Well, CIA pose, really. But but now I do that half the time, and I T-pose the other half of the time.
Well, when you're doing this new not new podcast, this new manga that you're scanlating. How are you going to do about cleaning it?
Oh, that's a better segue than mine. It was going to be back to cleaning. I need to take a class on segues.
Yeah.
Like a Segway City tour.
Tours you can do, yeah.
Well, actually, that's the thing. Since it's a modern, like, digital copy, like an ebook, it's easy to clean, like, for the most part.
You just get a damp rag and wipe off your Kindle.
Like with a rag. That's how you wipe your.
Did you wipe your servers? It's like, you mean with a rag? Like, I can't believe. Why aren't I 50 points ahead? Oh.
Only niche memers will get these jokes.
Only the cool kids.
Yeah.
But it's easier to clean if it's digital?
Yeah, dude, because I'm convinced that cleaning is not a real job. To the extent that scanlating has jobs and roles. I mean, calling it a job is kind of a stretch, but you know what I mean here.
I mean, it's true. When I've cleaned a couple pages, they didn't offer me a 401k or any benefits. I have my reservations that it is, in fact, a real job.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment, especially since I guess in that scenario, I would have been the one who would have had to provide that stuff to you, and I'm not about
cheap.
that.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I'm not cheap enough to. I'll shell out $5, but that's about it, and that's not for you. That's a company
assets.
Investment.
Yeah. That's an asset class, and then you'll outsource all your work to you outsource your distribution to things like RSS feeds distributing your manga.
And then I get third worlders on Fiverr to do the podcast editing.
Yeah. Well, what's great about that is I get third worlders from Fiverr to do my actual podcast recording. So I'm actually it's just me, Vishnu.
That's not even good at all. Like, I'm no accent guy, but even I could do better than that. That was terrible.
I can do kind of a southern drawl when I talk instead. I can be like, oh, I'm one of them Georgians on Fiverr. This is a good one.
What service does a Georgia native provide on Fiverr? It's like Big Man Tyrone, but like with a Georgia Southern drawl.
They legit have those. Yeah, it's like VA work. Like,
I'll say anything you write, but with a Southern accent.
that could get.
Look into that. Write that down.
Yeah, go to the PewDiePie video and see what he wrote to the kids to say.
Like those were Indians or something like that.
I think some type of weird third world Africans. Like I feel like it's like, or like one of the super East Asians, like one of those tribes on an island.
Oh,
that
like
you've
some
never heard of
islander or
before.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah, it could be.
Around by Fiji or something, but one of the ones that don't get tourists.
Yeah, the only Asians I know about are the Japanese, and only to the extent that I read their children's cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm cleaning one of those children cartoons, yeah, like I was saying though, with the ebook ones, it's easy because most of the stuff is just text and bubbles. You just get the white brush, whatever brush tool, and then you just erase them.
Now I am a high class citizen, and I have the Photoshop suite that I got from a bay filled with pirates. But I'm told that you don't use that software. You use something else. What do you use?
I think we've talked about that. I use Paint.net. You could use MS Paint for half this stuff, to be honest.
Oh, I've seen those, and it's they just get the box tool and they do a white thing, and then they just cover up the whole thing, and it looks it's a poor man's version of cleaning.
I use MS Paint a lot at work when I'm screwing off and not actually doing work. So I'm pretty confident that you could use it for cleaning.
What?
It would be tough, but you can do
like
it.
Draw things or what?
Well, I like find Sudoku pictures online and then I play them.
I see. That's funny. I get those bingo cards from some of the boards, and I play bingo with them. So I'll download the bingo card to see how much of a neat I am.
Oh, bingo's like the worst.
Yeah. No, those are always fun.
But there are hard parts though with cleaning, and it really depends on how principled, which is the code word for autistic, you are. And as always, Big Guy is, at least in spirit, the most principled scanlator around.
The most autistic, correct?
Yes, I will often kind of betray my principles for convenience. You have to know when to make the trade-off. And in my ideal world, there would not be a single character of Japanese left in like any chapter once you're done cleaning it.
Now, I almost agree with that, but I think there are very many circumstances where you can leave them in. One is sound effects. Two is the cover page, or like a credits page.
Yes.
I think that's probably the easiest thing. I mean, cleaning is important. You know, it in itself. You know, we hear Jordan Peterson, who's very popular right now. He's always, one of his biggest rules is just related to cleaning. It's wash your penis. So
right. I thought it was. I thought it was clean up your manga. That was worse than your Indian impression. I'm sorry to everyone who heard that. Clean up your manga, bucko. And I have kind of a list here, and we'll go through and kind of tell you whether you should or not clean them. Obviously, the answer is yes.
Oh, this is exciting. This list is new to me. I can't wait.
It's like 3 items. So clear text bubbles. Do you know what I mean by that? Like.
So it's like somebody talking, but the words are over the background instead of in a bubble.
Yes and no. I guess they take two forms. It's that, and also where it's like that, but with a circle drawn around it. So it's effectively the same thing.
Ah, I see.
So those are the worst because that involves redrawing.
Yes.
And I'm of the opinion that maybe back in the day it made sense for cleaning and redrawing to be two separate quote-unquote jobs, but now they're kind of, in my eyes, they're kind of fused because
I think they've been 2 in 1 for a long time. I mean, I've seen like cleaning and drawing as one for a long time, but you know, to be completely honest, and to poo-poo all over our famous fans who love Scanlation, I don't read the credits page, and I don't think a lot of our listeners read the credits
I bet not.
page. Yeah.
I bet not. Well, our listeners do, because how else would they know about the podcast?
Oh, well, we're trending #1 on YouTube, so
our listeners are the elite of the elite, and they
the creme de la creme.
Yes, and so those, I mean, you do have to clean those, obviously. There are certain corners you can cut, allegedly. I'm not going to admit to doing this. I'm not going to recommend it. So sometimes you have clear like boxes, and what you can do, don't tell anybody. This is an inside baseball super secret. You can just kind of white out those speech bubbles, and you can fill them in.
Oh, dude, no. No. How are you going to talk about the most ethical scanlating company when you're doing things like that?
I never said ethical. I said principle.
No. Oh, that's the worst thing. That's the worst thing. I can't believe it. Now
I think I've done that once. To be honest, I think I did that once.
Oh man.
It was like on the very first pages of chapter 1 of Antarctica Girls, because it was a colored page, dude. It was a colored page. You have to throw me some slack there.
That's fair.
I'm not gonna redraw a boat scene in color. Like, I can't do that. I can barely redraw black and white.
Trace it like all the famous manga artists do.
Well, that's beyond my ability, to be honest. I can barely use the line tool, and if you knew where to look, you would see a lot of my poor redrawings. But hopefully, nobody looks. Yeah, nobody does that.
Nobody even reads the things. They stare at the pictures. They look for key words to get the gist of a sentence and what's going on. I personally don't read anything until a cute girl comes onto the page, and then I'll reread the context of that. Yes.
That's a podcast canon right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's clear text. I mean, they're unavoidable 90 times out of 100. You just have to suck them up and hope that the text is over something easily redrawable. And that one's a pretty non-controversial opinion, I would say. Coming up next is sound effects. And these kind of come in multiple varieties. You've got your tiny ones. You've got your big ones that are like part of the picture, basically. When possible, I do like to clean them, sound effects in general.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair to do. But I also think that if they're stylistic and stylized, that they're almost part of the art. Like a lot of I've seen them built in, and it's cool. It almost looks like they're shooting out the sound effects. So I think you can leave those in, because you're not going to sit there unless you're going to redraw it in English. It's like, and I don't expect anybody to do that. In fact, you can learn some Japanese that way. You can go, and you're like, wow, I actually learned something today.
I actually would do that. Like back when I first started reading manga, I was like, oh, this is like go, 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 which is the JoJo sound for menacing, which is
this doesn't make any sense, but
none of them do. Like very few make sense to an English ear. I mean, obviously to the Japanese they make sense.
I mean, maybe it's because I've been exposed for so long, but the cat noises make sense to me.
Like nya.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, a lot of animal sounds, all sound effects in general really can be kind of like morphed in your mind to make sense, I think.
Yeah, you kind of rewrite your mental model once you learn a new sound effect, I think. Like now, before I would have never said yeah for cats, but now I can actually see it in real life now. It's like, oh man, you've rewritten my mental model. Or
like, what does a monkey say in English?
Monkey, oink or ook, like ooker dooker.
I'm pretty sure now. I'm starting to second guess myself, but 10 minutes ago I would have been positive that in Japanese it's like uki, like UKIII, and like like uki, like you could hear that as a monkey thing. Like
what do you think they said in English?
Probably ook.
Yeah.
Or
well, I mean it is. Oh yeah, well that's maybe
that's a different one.
Or a chain. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it really depends on what type of monkey. But no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is a big. Even just the way it's spelled is a big difference, because UKIII is way different than the OOK.
Well, I mean, if you know the Japanese orthography, just like how the nouns work, or how the vowels work, excuse me, like, then it's pretty similar enough.
Well, like I think most people won't.
Yeah, I wondered about that. Like back in my earliest weep days, that was one of the first things I kind of picked up on. But half the people I know have no idea.
Well, I just went on. I picked up some flashcards because I was like, oh, I bet if I study these for a couple days, I'll be able to read my my Cambodian cartoons better. And guess what, you guys? It happened. I did it. Here I am now. It only took me 30 days of studying flashcards with Anki, SRS.
Anki, the official software of Big Guy for You Scanlations.
Excellent. Now you actually studied Japanese, and it took you I think it took you 30 days, and you became good enough to translate. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely.
That should be a whole.
We could do an episode on that.
Yeah,
let's do
that. That'll be cool. You guys.
Yeah, because
there's a lot of good
like
stuff
to talk
there.
about that stuff. Yeah.
I even have stuff because I studied Chinese for a couple of years, so I even. have some
that's
cool
right.
Things. Yeah. Oh, that's right.
I forgot about that.
So,
do
you have a? You have a? You said you had a third time where you didn't know how to.
Yeah. Well, there might be 3 or 4 total. So signage, background signage, or like book titles, you like any kind of background text.
That gets tricky. I think in general, yes.
Clean it.
Yeah. Well.
And scanlate it. In this case,
I meant translate. Yeah.
Yes.
If it's like super far back and it's just in the backgrounds and you can't make it out, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I think there is also a distinction if it's a part of the plot or not, or if it's part of the environment in a sense where you'll learn more from having it displayed. Like,
right.
I mean, if it's
like the name of somebody's house or something, like, oh, this is Satoshi-san's house.
Yeah,
something
or Steve
like that.
In the 4Kids version.
If it helps gives you context, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, but I think like I've seen some people who won't. There'll be a panel where the guy is like holding a like a report card or something, and they don't translate that, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
But
it's that's not principled.
And it's like sometimes I've even seen it where it's like the Japanese people are meant to read it themselves, and like that person doesn't translate it for the English reader. And it's like, I mean, I can
like a
the
text
context
message.
Yeah, exactly like that. And I've most of the time, all the scanlators are principled enough to translate that, but I have seen it in some areas, and I'm like, well, this is a little lazy.
In anime, I've noticed that a lot. Where they won't scan or they won't subtitle something like it is. It definitely is.
Especially
so
if
I cut them
voice
some slack.
Through. Yeah, like, and there's no way you can, you can't clean that. You can't edit it to be, something else.
I have seen that very rarely. Like they'll do it with like signs in the background where they'll actually clean it and put subtitles over it. It's crazy, and that must take a lot of work. And I commend them for that.
Yeah, especially
in terms of signage, I'll also add that. If you're in like a red light district or something, which is something I had to do a couple pages that took place in Kabukicho, which is like the red light district. All like the signs for like love hotels and stuff and like bars or whatever.
This was for that for the Sword Art Online dojin that you scanlated. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but once again, I don't want to admit publicly that I am associated with anything Sword Art Online related.
Oh, my bad. It was the Oriimo dojin.
All right, since I don't think it'll come up naturally at all, so I'm just gonna say Digimon at least once this episode right now. It was for the Digimon Dojin.
Right. Excellent.
But yeah, I mean, I left those uncleaned, untranslated. Like you understand what they are from the context. You don't need to see that it's like girls, some stupid sign like that. Like the reader knows, and that would take me so long because it's stylized like graphics and fonts.
Yeah, I think that's one. Yeah. Especially so if it is something like signage in the back where it is stylized in the art, I think that's fine to leave. You have the option to put in a little bubble there in English if you want, but I don't think it's necessary. If it's just like we see like house plates where it's like this is the Toyota family, that's normally not stylized. You can normally pretty easily do that. And
I tend to do that as well. I mean I tend to translate like house name plates or whatever.
I think you could probably reduce it down to effort versus reward in this sense where it's like if it doesn't bring any context, if you're already getting it, if the reader already understands like what's going on, what building it is, you don't have to translate the Poca Center logo on top of the Poca Center.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's a good rule of thumb in all forms of scanlation, like effort versus reward, because it is for free. Like it is kind of a charity in a way. I mean, I don't want to put it in those terms because that has weird baggage.
What, you haven't been getting the checks?
No, I meant charity. It seems like contempt for the audience kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And, I don't want to come off like that.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm getting bank from this.
Oh, okay. Well, give me a cut, definitely. I would appreciate that. Let's see, the next thing on the things that you can clean, like the types of cleaning challenges you'll encounter. Titles. We kind of touched on this a bit. I think in general, it's okay to keep titles in the raw Japanese and to not touch them.
You mean like the first page, right?
Right. So actually, there are two kinds of titles. They have like the title for like the manga cover, like the album cover, or chapter titles that are often like kind of part of the art, like on like the first page of like
I think
each
so.
chapter.
I think that's mostly fine. Though you should translate at least the, like in table of contents, at least translate the part that you'd look for. You can leave the artistic, Tulavuru stylized art on the side. Like you don't have to translate that, but I would translate the chapter titles. You know what I mean? So you can actually use it.
Definitely in the table of contents. Like there's no excuse to not do that. But
I've seen it. So many people don't.
Wow. I can't even get in that mindset. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, because it's not something you need. So few people even use it. Like it's like.
I know. I don't even look at them either. But it's the principle. It always goes back to the principle. But I would say, and this is something that I might do. In fact, I did do a chapter 1 of that secret project that I'm shelving for now. I left the title intact. Yeah, Digimon Tamers. I left the title intact, and I just like typed in the like equivalent translation next to it. And this was on like the first page of the chapter, not in the table of contents.
I think that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
so you still get the original art.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a color page. I'm not gonna. I cannot clean color to save my life. And another thing that I can't clean to save my life is the next. I think the final thing on this list. It's a specific kind of background, and there are lots of these. And I know you've seen them, so hopefully I can convey what I mean. They kind of have like a weird gradient, or like a hash-looking pattern, or like.
Yes. So here's my other fact off the top of my or out of an orifice, in the sense where I think it's supposed to mimic old school like DPI printing. Like comic books have that old school, like none of them were full color. They were all dots. Like
I forgot about
spaces.
that.
Yeah. And I think that's weird. Part of it. It's to save on ink back when they actually printed these things and it wasn't so digital. Now I think they'd probably just do that gradient with a program or something, but it helps fill in, like if you want a grayish background, you're not going to color it gray, because you only have two colors, so you're just going to sparingly do a gradient pattern or like the old school comic dots to fill up the space.
I'm sure the audience understands that concept more than the analog I'm about to compare it to, but in pixels art it's called like dithering, where you alternate every pixel, like on off kind of, to make like a checkerboard pattern. From like zoomed out kind of far away, it looks like
a different color, like a gradient.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's exactly the same thing, but we're just mostly talking with black and white here for the most part. Yeah, that's exactly the same thing.
And I actually think, don't quote me on this, but I think I watched this, or I think I learned this from Monthly Nozaki-kun, which is a manga, or an anime and a manga, about a high school guy who makes shoujo manga. And I'm pretty sure, I swear I didn't make this up, they like have sheets that of these patterns, and they kind of like cut them out to the shape that they want, and then they kind of like affix it to the page that they're working on. I don't know if that's actually how they do it, but in my mind, that's canon.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of like mangas and animes of people that metally do manga, like mangas about manga. And yeah, it always looks weird because they're all doing very weird tools. Like if the listeners are familiar with Scott Adams, he does Dilbert cartoon, but he does everything online. He does from a Wacom Cintiq computer, and he draws on the computer. Whereas like, do people still in this day and age use like this old school ink? Like, I always feel like they're writing with ink pens, like those old school like Victorian era pens. I mean, that's what it looks like they're drawing with in the animes. And I was like, what?
I think this is true because we both know a cartoonist in real life, and he inks stuff, I'm pretty sure, with like a Sharpie, doesn't he? I think you might be right. I mean, I know he also uses Photoshop. That's true.
But I think it also depends on like what you're producing. Like if he's doing an oil painting or like something else, he will do an original in like markers or something before putting it, before like scanning it, I guess, and having like
For,
a
like,
Kinko's
touch-ups.
printed out. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the case.
That'd be interesting. That's
I never thought about that.
We might have to interview a manga producer or something.
Let's get Araki.
Yeah, you'll have to translate it. So he'll say something.
I know that Araki uses his stand to draw manga. So actually, it might be better to get a more conventional artist to interview.
One of those normies.
But yeah, those patterns are a pain and a half to clean because I can't do them properly. And
that's because
really,
you're not using something
stumped.
like Photoshop. No, see, this is I use you use the clone stamp tool, or you just
I can
copy.
do that. I can clone.
Can you?
But
you could
it's
take
not
a
a perfect
cutout
match.
and like put it over. Yeah, I guess it's hard. Yeah, I did do one of those for Antarctic Girls where I think it was the moon was setting.
That was
and
an
it had a
easy one
gradient.
too, dude.
Yeah, and
I'll show you some hard
it's
ones.
rough. No, I've seen them. I know, and I think that's why it's available to just leave hard things like that if it's part of the background.
Well, that one's
fine.
in the case that made me write this down on my show prep. The case that I was thinking of was actual dialogue. It was one of those like clear bubbles without the bubble.
Oh yeah.
And that's chapter 1 of the News Seeker project, actually.
Excellent.
But I'll figure that one out. I'll do something. Keep an eye out for any poorly looking hash gradient cleaning jobs.
Well, we're coming up on the end of the cleaning segment. Do you have anything that you want to talk about cleaning-wise before we move on to one of our newer segments?
No. I think we touched on everything, actually. It was a pretty good timing there.
How about we've touched up everything because we're talking about
Nice.
cleaning and redrawing. Yeah.
And you're going to edit half of this content out, so touching it up, exactly.
Maybe. So, half of the podcast is just going to be you requesting things to be cut out and me leaving them in. So,
Based on podcasts I've listened to, that's normal.
Yes, so it'll be like that. The only thing I edit out is your racial slurs that you basically pepper in every other sentence. So
That's really good.
yeah.
I'm sure a few will escape your editing because it's kind of hard to edit every other word.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you do a good job. I've listened to your work. You've eliminated like 99%.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate that, and I know YouTube censors absolutely appreciate that as well. So we're going to take this moment and transition into, do we have some sound? Do we have a music playing in the background? Did I take the time to come up with a musical segue for our recurring segment?
Yeah, right.
I probably didn't. So in that case, it's time for the Manga Minute. This is
Manga Minute.
Manga Minute. Anyway, I kind of came up with this concept where we're just going to pick something that is kind of new or popular recently, and we're both going to read a couple chapters, and we're going to talk about it. Today we're talking about Dungeon Hyoki or Dungeon Nursery. I don't think I probably pronounced that right. But,
I would probably say Hoiku or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. I don't.
I certainly got the vowels right. Maybe my intonation wasn't perfect, but it's closer.
Who knows? But this is the story of a salaryman. It's basically an isekai, but it's with a twist, because they all have to have some type of twist. And
Isekai for the audience.
Oh well, they'll figure it out. The audience is smart. They're quick on their toes.
I mean, you need a 250 IQ minimum to listen, definitely.
Well, unlike one of the other very popular isekais out there now, this guy doesn't turn into a hot spring bath. This guy actually he dies
obviously, and then
that's how they all start. Yeah,
and then he gets reincarnated into a fantasy realm. Wow.
Whoa, dude, that's a great. Well, it started with the video games is how they originally started. Anyway, it's like he gets to the pearly gates.
No, they started with Digimon going to the digital world, which is close to a video game, but
I feel like it is okay. That's a whole other podcast. Digimon is a video game because it's Mon
in real life
.exe like
that's not canon to my knowledge.
I'm pretty sure it is. This'll be a whole episode because there's Digimon lore has the deepest lore. But anyway, Dungeon Nursery, this guy, he's a salaryman and he dies, but he can't get into heaven. But to redeem himself, because he's been such a horrible, like...
He's a cutthroat or acquisitions and mergers kind of guy.
Yes, exactly. But to get to the end, he has to go through this dungeon with monsters in it. And so they're like, well, what kind of powers do you want? And it's like, okay, well, he's a summoner now. And he summons his first monster, but it's a level 1, looks like a toddler, level 1 female goblin. And so it can't do anything. And it's cutesy, and it's funny. And he goes and he tries to get this little goblin who's got like the little reverse fang that we all know and love as an anime trope.
Reverse? What makes it reverse?
It's pointing up.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, I guess so.
So that's more monster-ish or more beast man type style. Whereas the cutesy girls are like one of the skin fangs like pointing down, because most of the time it blends in with the...
Well, yeah, some of them are real weird, creepy looking, like in Yuru Camp, which was an anime last season.
I haven't seen it. I'll have to go look it up after this, because fang is one of the best TV tropes.
No, it looks really weird. It looks like her mouth is melting. It's weird.
Ooh, weird. Yeah, I'll have to go check that out. But Dungeon Nursery is great. So you just... I haven't read it in a little bit, because I started reading it maybe a month ago. But you just read it today. What are your first thoughts of it?
It's all right. I laughed a couple times. It's not something that I'll probably finish or keep up with. But what I read was enjoyable enough. The main character, he's the star of the whole thing. Like, he's the main attraction of the manga. It's his
personality. It's like you want to see how someone with his demeanor and his choice of actions would operate in like an isekai, which is fantastic. So he finally gets like he defeats one of the bosses.
Oh yeah, he kills the goblins barehanded or trolls or whatever the enemy is, because his monster is so weak. She's level 1.
Yeah.
So he has to like beat them up with his own fists and
martial arts
stuff.
as when he was alive. So he goes and he's actually beating the monsters off himself, and everyone's like, "Oh, are you a monk?" It's like, "No, I'm a summoner," and he's sitting there like punching people. But he's suplexing them and things like that. But he eventually gets enough to get a new perk, and it's like, oh yeah, now I can summon a new monster, and he summons another one, and it's like a level 1 like little bird monster, and it's like
a harpy.
tiny little harpy. That's what it is. Yeah. And it's adorable, because now they're both two ineffective like little toddler monsters. So it is Dungeon Nursery. So it's like he's like going through the dungeon and he's taking care of these little kids. And then this is what I think why this manga may appeal to some of our mini fans. The level 1 goblin actually reached a level up, and he was given a prompt of like 3 options. There was one where it's like increase strength or something, or like get a new power, or summon a new monster, or
age up
goblin,
+5.
Age up +5. Now that
I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know.
Exactly.
That's the main reason that I'm skeptical about this. I think it might turn into some Monster Musume trash, where it's just like...
Well, you just alienated all of our fans. I
know. That's true.
Yeah, but
I'm not into harems. I'm not into that
this
ecchi stuff.
Less of that, but
it's not that at all. But I fear that it could be.
But it could have just the most tasteful sprinkling of it.
I don't know, man. I don't
because
know.
why are we all reading trash to begin with?
I generally don't. So I can't speak to that.
I think it's got potential, and I will continue to. See when it ever pops up on the new chapter list. I'll check it out. Right now you can find it on any of the manga distribution sites. It's up to 8 chapters right now.
We should have looked up who scanlates it, because they recommend that you read it on their site. I forgot what it's called. It's like Courage Scans or something. I don't know, but look it up, and then it's actually when you do an internet search using a popular internet browser or search engine.
Dogpile.
When you use, you probably do use, then it's like the top result when you type in Dungeon Nursery. It's their site.
So it's Champion Scans is the Scanlation team that does it. So you can go to their website, championscans.com, and get the latest and greatest. You can say hi to the translator Moonbeans.
You're looking up
or proofreader Abbers. The cleaner. Hey, we're gonna rep the cleaner today because that's what this episode is about.
True
it's
that.
Tama.
That cleaner though is also the typesetter and the
redrawer.
redrawer.
Yeah. This man.
I noticed
does
because
it
I
all.
read the credits.
Well, I have never read them, but I will today.
Until now.
Yeah, this is live for you. My first credits reading.
I do want to mention one more thing about the manga content. A scene that I liked a lot. It's
go for it.
It's halfway. It's only 8 chapters, so like, yeah, we're gonna spoil the whole thing. Sorry, but like chapter 5 or 6, the Goblin Girl actually manages to do like a sit-up because she couldn't even do one to begin with, and then like she tries so hard and like she gets it, and then you expect this to be like a great kind of like father-daughter type moment with like the main character and the girl and the goblin, but it's like he throws her at an enemy or something. It's like it's like that's not good enough. Effort isn't good enough unless it's gaining you victory or something like that. Like he like scolds her for trying so hard and finally improving. It was so funny.
There's a lot of great expressions too, especially from the goblin. There's a lot of like
because
she's sitting there
the monsters
learning
don't talk.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely good. It's a fun way to spend 20-30 minutes when you go through and read it. I definitely recommend checking it out at Champion Scans, and that's Dungeon Nursery is the name of it again. Now, I briefly talked about we were talking about end pages. That could be a whole episode, but I
want to do one on that.
Yeah, so that'll be coming up. I want to tease one of my favorite things about end pages, and I believe it's Rape Man Scans.
I knew it was gonna be that.
Yeah, because I would read every time because they're hilarious. They're so funny. And
he does kind of the same thing that I do, but better.
Exactly, yeah. and it's really high effort memery. So I definitely recommend. I think he got taken down from a lot of places because of his end pages were so awesome. Like they were taken away from the manga, even though
no way.
I can't tell you
what.
They're
okay with the name Rape Man, but they're not okay with his
I think that's
content.
part of why he was.
Wow, they're trying
removed.
to keep him down.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know that I could be just spreading gossip, so I don't know. Anyway, you can go check out Rape Man Scans too. So
does he do more than that one where they're like animal girls in a school or
that's
something?
such a great one. Yeah, I believe he's done several, and I don't know if it's a team. Wow. I think it's just one guy, but I'm not sure.
That was my impression. I've never read any of his stuff though. I've just seen a couple end pages.
In the episode we'll talk about end pages. Yeah, we'll get him on, and we'll have more things to say about him. And we could also do Scanlator team spotlight episodes, so just talking about other teams that we find inspiration from or enjoy their work. Just patting all of ourselves on the back.
Yeah, a real circle pat, as they call it.
Exactly. Yeah, so please support the official release by purchasing all the official releases when it's available in your region and language.
Please support the official release by sending us shekels. No, dude, no, I do put that on everything because I believe in it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but not enough to. You know enough to. You believe in it enough to buy the manga, but that's because you're scanlating it. But 99.9% of these people probably don't. I
buy it as a trophy, the manga I scanlate.
Yeah,
like how
that's
when you hunt an animal and then you like mount its head or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Monster
I do.
Hunter. You're manga hunter.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's me. That's my my code name, Manga Hunter Scanlations. That might be one actually. So that's not us.
Well, Tom, the flight plan only had 2 of us on the thing, so I think it's almost time to
Dude, come on, you gotta go rewatch the plane scene and you gotta memorize that dialogue.
I know. In fact, I guess that's what we'll all do right now as we segue into some really great music.
Oh, hold on. They gotta know where to find us first.
Where do they gotta find us?
As always, gap.ai/big-guy, numeral 4, letter U. You could send me messages there. Find links to the podcast, link to download manga chapters. I upload the chapters to Manga Dex, and then every site just takes from there. So pretty much any website that you read manga on will have big guy stuff. But I think you can message me on that. You can message me on I think Manga Updates. I keep saying I think it has comments or messages. I've never used them.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like 50 episodes in. We realize that they don't.
Yeah.
Whatever.
People have been sending emails to like. Well, you can also find the podcast on anchor.fm/The Flight Plan. You can find it also on YouTube. Just either Google The Flight Plan or look for Big Guy For You.
You might have to
YouTube channel.
You might have to say The Flight Plan Podcast, because The Flight Plan I think is the name of a movie, and you get clips from that.
Is that the one with Nicolas Cage?
No, that's Con Air. Tell you. Oh yeah.
Back from our Homestuck reference.
That's not even a Homestuck reference. That's a movie reference.
From Homestuck. That was the one that they were talking about.
It's a Chappelle Show reference. Dave Chappelle's in the movie. But you can find us in the credits of Con Air. If you read every 5th letter, it'll be a secret message from us.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty much all they can find us, right? A SoundCloud, right?
SoundCloud also, you can look for that. Yeah, you can just... There's all types of good stuff you can find us. Just look for The Flight Plan. Yeah,
just go to Ask Jeeves, type in Big Guy For You, The Flight Plan, anything like that. If you're listening to this, you know where to find the podcast at least.
Probably.
So
they probably stumble upon this and they're like, please make it stop.
I have faith in you listeners, you 250 plus IQ listeners. I know you can achieve great things.
We have the best listeners, don't we?
Mm-hmm. And with that, we might as well crash this plane with no survivors.
With no survivors. Now we can listen to that music.
I can't actually sing it. I don't know it.